Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we're going to answer the question, what should the next Twist Metal be like? I've taken the liberty of putting together 15 of my major things that I would love to see in a new Twisted Metal game if ever one gets made. And I'm just hoping that the more Twisted Metal content that gets put out there from my channel and other channels like my buddy Drew Dessa do, hopefully more people will see Twisted Metal, get their eyes on it, and hopefully somebody from Sony will see that people still love these games to this day, and it's continuously growing and the community is growing ever more. Not only that, but of course we have season 2 of the television show coming out probably in the next year or so. So when that drops, I'm hoping that will open up Sony's eyes to say, hey, we do have fans of this show, we do have fans of this game series, we need to make a new one. So if they do end up seeing this video, I hope they take some of this as, you know, this is stuff we want to see, but of course, this is just my opinions, and I don't speak for everybody. Check out the comment section below, and hopefully somebody down there will give you some other insights of what we want to see in a new video game. I also want to give a quick shout out to Emmett7208. They commented on one of my previous videos, giving me this idea for this one, so thank you for that, Emmett, and hope you enjoy this one. Starting at number 1, I would love them to bring back some returning favorite characters. You know, Sweet Tooth, of course, maybe Axel, Yellow Jacket, Spectre, Shadow, Thumper, the originals, right? The OGs that people all know and love at this point and have come back in multiple games up until this point. But I also want to see some new ones added as well. And of course, maybe a slight part of me would love to see people like Pizza Boy and Club Kid make a return. Cross my fingers. But if not, if we get some brand new characters, I would honestly be very excited. I love seeing new creativity wherever it may be, as long as the new characters are fun, interesting, and they fit the world of the game. I don't necessarily have a specific mood I want the game to be in mind. Like, I don't necessarily care if it's going to be more moody and dark like Twist Metal Black, or if it'll be more campy and interesting and bright like Twist Metal 2. Either one I would totally be fine with, so as long as the characters fit the overall tone of the game, I am fine with that. Number 2, I feel the gameplay should be fast and fluid, just like we got in Twist Metal Black and 2012. I still feel 2012 is the best gameplay in the entire series, especially if you've played it online against other real players. It just flows so nicely and feels wonderful to play as. The control scheme's a little bit interesting to get used to, but once you do, it feels right at home. So I would hope they just continue that legacy and just bring back 2012's gameplay engine, but just, of course, upgrade it to the modern audience. Number 3, bring back 2012's special ability system. Now, this was very interesting when I first learned to use it, and what I mean by this is that every Twisted Metal up until 2012 used these special inputs on the directional pad to use things such as a freeze missile, a shield, drop a mine behind you, you name it. And don't get me wrong, I totally understand why they were like that. They wanted to kind of compete with fighting games at the time, but I feel that kind of gameplay has really kind of fallen flat and doesn't feel as good nowadays, and a lot of new players would probably be turned off with having to learn all of those different inputs. So I like that in 2012, what they did is they just registered a different directional pad to a special ability. So for instance, I don't remember the exact order of these, this is just making this up as I go, but if you hit left on the directional pad, it would drop a mine, or if you hit down on the directional pad, it would do a rear attack, or if you hit right on the directional pad, it would do a shield, and up on the directional pad would do a freeze missile. Stuff like that, right? I think that'd be a really cool and good system to bring back in a new game. It just feels more intuitive, and it feels better for new players. I understand the diehards would probably disagree with me on this and say that's stupid, it's too easy, it's for babies, but honestly, you gotta try to please as many people as possible, especially in a new game, and trying to revive a series. So I do think that the 2012 special ability system needs to make a return. Number 4, this one's pretty damn important, but I do genuinely think a new Twisted Metal needs to have a banger multiplayer experience and also a banger single player experience. I don't care who you are. If you are a multiplayer fan, you play a lot of FPS games or whatever, like Warzone or the new X-Defiant, whatever you may be, those games, at least for me, I can only play for a couple hours and I start to get bored. It just doesn't keep my attention very long because it's kind of the same rinse and repeat, jump into a fight, go against some players, and do it again. There's not a whole lot of different variety there. Yes, there's different game modes, of course, but even then, it still feels kind of flat and it falls short for me without some type of storyline keeping me going or unlockables to find in a single player experience. Or what if there's a day when none of your friends are online and you want to just play with yourself and you don't like playing with random people on the internet? I'm one of those people. I would love to have a single player experience. I understand that that's a lot of money that would have to be thrown into the game to make it a single player experience on top of multiplayer, and Sony probably is never going to push for this. But if they do, I just really hope we get the traditional tournament system back with different characters having their different wishes being granted when you finish the game. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be the best writing of all time. Just as long as we get that feeling of nostalgia from the old games, that's, I think, would be more than enough to please a lot of old players and new players alike. And kind of coming off of that single player experience, my next one would be bring back Twisted Metal 2's Calypso, aka Mel McMurrin, as the voice actor for him. I think he just did an absolute amazing job as Calypso. I loved his portrayal. He's still working today as a voice actor, so they could easily call him up. And I think that Twisted Metal 2's Calypso was the most iconic in the series. I think he just had that look to him that made him feel hellish, if you will. And I just feel it would be really cool to see him make a return as the Grand Calypso we all know and love. Also, bring back the comic book style animations while you're at it. My God, do not repeat 2012's mistakes of bringing real acting, live action people to the game. Just don't do that. It looks terrible. It doesn't hold up. And even though that game's the most recent in the series, it feels the oldest because of how bad those endings look, or those cutscenes look, I should say. Whereas Twisted Metal 2's comic book style endings still hold up to this day. They look amazing because animation is still around to this day and it still looks good. So yeah, I would just hope that if we do get a single player experience with a storyline, just bring back the comic book style. It looks so damn good. Next is that, this one I'm probably going to get some hate for. Everyone hates microtransactions. I get that. And if I had the choice, yeah, no microtransactions. Everything should be free with the game you purchase. However, if this ever is to become a free-to-play game, like they were originally stating to do, microtransactions, in my opinion, are totally fine as long as they're only cosmetic. Like if it's some type of weird, I don't know, skin pack or whatever for your characters, that can be a microtransaction and I would not hate that. However, if they put levels or game modes or different vehicles behind a paywall, then I'm going to be angry. And I feel that's bullshit because then it becomes like pay to win at that point. So yeah, for me, microtransactions are definitely a hit or miss. If it was up to me, I would never have them being in the game at all. But if we're being realistic here, a 2024 title is going to have microtransactions one way or another. I just hope that if we do, they're only cosmetic. Levels need a variety from large, small, and medium. I'm so tired of these games like feeling they all have to be big maps or they all have to be really small maps. Like there can be a variety. I don't see a reason why there can't be. 2012, I think, just went way overboard with these gigantic levels. They were trying to kind of pick up where they left off with the failure that was Harbor City, and I totally get that. And who knows, maybe they could make a new game where all the levels are intertwined with highways and it would actually work with the new technology we have today. But either way, I still feel like in a tournament-based system, in Twisted Metal's history and the way that these games have played well, every game that had a variety in level sizes did much better than the games that didn't. So yeah, even though I'm not a huge fan of the small levels, I know a lot of people are, and I'd be willing to deal with them if we at least got large and medium to make up for it. Whereas 2012 was like, let's just make all the levels ginormous, and then if you want to play on smaller levels, you can cut them down into sections, which I just felt was kind of lazy. I feel like a level that's small or medium should be made from the ground up as an intended small or medium level, because then it flows better and it makes more sense as its own standalone map versus taking a gigantic map and cutting one section out of it and just putting up roadblocks and saying, yep, that's a small level, here you go. Next, let the players choose which level is next in single-player tournament. I absolutely loved this feature in Black and in Head-On, and I would love to see it make a return if we hopefully get a single-player experience on top of multiplayer. Mainly because it makes playthroughs, like multiple playthroughs, feel more fresh because you can always change up the order of the levels. And I hope they would do this for every single level in the tournament. Like, yeah, a 9-level tournament I think is more than enough time for a single playthrough with a character. But for each level of those 9 levels, let us choose between 2 different levels, or 3 different levels for that matter. It'd be really cool. So that would be fun to see. I just would love variety whenever I'm going back and doing multiple playthroughs in a tournament. Bring back different game modes in the tournament as well, like we got in 2012. Of course, no more racing or obstacle courses. Fuck that. Do not bring that back. But as for everything else, I absolutely loved the cage matches and stuff like that because it felt different. It felt like it made the gameplay flow a lot better. for the tournament to just feel different as you're going through it. So yeah, I definitely think they should do stuff like this. Maybe even add like team-based game modes in the tournament and stuff like that. That would be really interesting. But yeah, for the most part, you know, just don't go jump in the shark like you did in 2012. Just change it up a little bit to give it a little bit more variety in the gameplay. But overall, even if it is just regular deathmatch throughout every level like we've gotten in the past, I probably wouldn't complain, but it would be something that I think would make the gameplay more fresh. Keep out flying vehicles for the love of God from Twisted Metal. Just no more Warhawk, no more Talon. We've gotten enough of that, and both times I felt it fell flat on its face. It just does not work. Just flying vehicles should not be anywhere near Twisted Metal. It's car combat for a reason, not ace combat. You know what I mean? Like that's its own thing. Like flying vehicles can be in their own game, and car combat can be its own genre. So yeah, just keep that shit out of Twisted Metal, please. The soundtrack should be an original soundtrack, like in Twisted Metal 1 and Twisted Metal 2. Mainly because licensed music, I probably might be wrong with this, but in my opinion, it's dead. It's dead for video games, man. I think streaming culture and YouTube culture has kind of ruined licensed music in video games. Not only that, but like, you know, streaming services are so easy to get now. You can listen to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever while you're playing video games, so people just don't need licensed music in their games anymore. And of course, when it comes to DMCA and stuff like that, it's just annoying at this point having licensed music where you have to mute it anyway. So I think they would save a lot of money just hiring a composer, and honestly, they should just bring back the original composer from TM1 and TM2 and remake an entirely new original soundtrack for a brand new game. I think it would actually kick ass, and especially if they just go back to the old like 80s rock tunes, right? The hair metal, I think sounded perfect for Twisted Metal. So yeah, they just brought back the original composer from the OST from TM1 and 2 and put that in a brand new game. That would be so killer. Next is that the characters should only have one special weapon per vehicle. Don't do the 2012 thing of having, for some dumbass reason, 2 or 3 different special weapons. No, don't do that. Just one special weapon to not get confused. And everyone should feel balanced. That was one of the biggest issues with 2012, is a lot of the cars felt the same because they couldn't come up with a ton of different special weapons per vehicle. And not only that, but it kind of ruined the balancing as well, because some characters felt overpowered compared to underbalanced vehicles. And I think that the balancing could be way easier if you just have one special weapon per vehicle, just like it was in the good old days. And you can make that special weapon feel a lot more original for that vehicle. The physics engine should feel like a refined version of the 2012 experience. In my opinion, 2012 felt the best to play as. I think the physics engine and just the overall gameplay felt so fresh and fluid and great that just remaking that from the scratch would be the best option in my opinion. Mainly because I think that Twisted Metal Black's engine also is really good. It feels great, but there is a lot of glitches with the actual physics that can be kind of annoying. 2012 just had better jump physics and stuff like that than Black did, in my opinion, but it obviously did have glitches as well, where cars just go flying out of the game for no reason. So that's why I'm saying it would need to be a refined version of the physics engine from 2012 to make it the best version of all time. And of course, I just don't want to see a repeat of like the TM2 engine or Twisted Metal 3's crazy physics engine, because obviously it's going to have to be a brand new engine made from scratch anyway, because we're in PS5 now, almost PS6 coming out. And we have all these new graphics cards, stuff that we never had back in the day, that we can do so much more with. So I'm pretty sure the physics engine will be the best one we've ever seen anyway, but it's just one of those things where I just don't want them to once again jump the shark and change up the flow of the gameplay all that much, when 2012 did a really damn good job. And last, my number 15 pick here is that I just want a big variety in weapon pickups. I feel like most games did a pretty good job of this, of having a decent amount of variety. And again, with balancing, I think if you have too many weapons to choose from, the balancing gets out of whack, and it becomes a little bit hard for new players to understand what does what and which one's the best weapon to go for and yada, yada, yada. I think the originals did it perfectly, except TM1, of course, but I would just love to bring back old favorites of mine, like for instance the auto lob from TM4 would be really fun to see come back in the game. Maybe even the rain missile from TM3. I know that one's pretty hated for the most part. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but they could upgrade it to do a lot of fire damage or something to make it look really cool. Bring back the original napalm from TM2. That thing was badass. Maybe even the Ricos from TM3. They were so silly and funny, and you could just send people flying. I would love to see those return. And the Stalker missile from 2012, I think, was underrated because it got overshadowed by so many other weapons in the game that were just as strong. So as long as they just don't have a ton of the same weapons over and over again like they did in 2012, I think we'll be fine. Like, maybe instead of a power missile, do the Stalker missile, basically. You know what I'm saying? We can do the charge up system instead of just a straight shot like you got with Mr. Grimm's special weapon. So stuff like that. I just think choose one over the other. Don't just do a whole smorgasbord of random weapons and hope some of them work and some don't, because then your balancing is going to be way out of whack. Also, no snipers. Do not bring the sniper weapon back. That was the dumbest decision they ever did. I don't know why that was in the game. It made the harder difficulties of 2012 just insanely impossible. And of course, multiplayer got really frustrating because people would just sit up in areas and camp and snipe people, and it was stupid. So yeah, just don't bring that shit back. We don't need the slow kind of gameplay. We have to sit in a spot and aim at people from afar. We want frantic, in-your-face, cat versus mouse type gameplay when it comes to car combat and when it comes to Twisted Metal. So that is it for my 15 things I would love to see in a new Twisted Metal title if we are to get a new one, maybe at the drop of Season 2. What are your guys' thoughts or things you would love to see in a new Twisted Metal? Or is there anything you disagree with me? I totally understand if you did, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Because in the end, the more we talk about these games, the more it gets out there, the more the name Twisted Metal gets out to the public, the more Sony will have a chance to hopefully put some money towards a brand new title. So with that, if you liked the video, please make sure to leave a like, share, support. As always, it does truly help. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.